Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Hey, X. I'm completely hopeless and I don't know what to do. This story will come in parts, otherwise it will just be a wall of text. Pick kind of related. Be me. My friends and I are obsessed with ghost adventures. Literally, we watch the show every time we hang out. Friend suggests.
Hey, we should go ghost hunting.
Heat lightning storm outside. We go to the cemetery near a friend's house. We don't see much, but we're scared shitless and we run away like pussies.
Okay, we're never doing that again.
While I'm driving home, I look in the rear view and my two friends are in the passenger seat and one in the back seat, but I see one person in the third row of seating. I turn around to see if someone's there and there isn't. I look in the rear view mirror and no one is there either. Shrug it off as my brain just being psychologically freaked out and don't think much of it. Months pass, we forgot pretty much everything that happened that night before. We start hanging out with new friends, one of which has a spirit attached to them. I'm a skeptic. We start going to this baby cemetery. Nothing much starts happening until the third time we go. Let me set up the scene for you. The cemetery is in the middle of a wealthy neighborhood, surrounded by black fencing. In order to get into the cemetery, you have to go all the way around into the dense forest in the back. There's an archway with a fence that always remains open. We went there very late at night and there's a street light near the property but not bright enough to light up the property. The cemetery looks like it's lit up completely with warm orange-red lighting. It was quite welcoming, so we decided to finally enter the cemetery. We walk into the cemetery and immediately hear growling. We all laugh nervously and shrug it off as coyotes and continue walking to the cemetery. I look up at the archway and I see a statue with its legs hanging over the arch. It looks like a young girl with pigtails and it's made of stone. We enter the cemetery and there's some gusts of warm air and some gusts of cool air. Everyone's very tense and nervous. More growling. Everyone kind of huddles together and laughs. I look into the forest and see a silhouette of a man looking directly at us. It looks like something is on his head, but I can't quite make it out before my friend tells me that she doesn't feel safe here and we all agree and walk out. Look back up at the archway to look at the statue and it's not there. Nope.png. Get into the car while my friend is yelling prayers and we all drive away. 2 days later we go back. Yes, I know we're fucking dumb. The cemetery is back again to being dark like before.
Hey, let's go back in.
I and half my friends refuse, but the other half decide to walk through the forest and we all follow them. It's eerily quiet because it's snowing and windy. We hear a deep growling again. It sounds like talking. It's just the wind, I say, and everyone kind of agrees for the time being so they don't shit themselves. I don't know why we didn't turn around right then and there. None of us felt safe. But we're idiots and kept going in. We all grab a partner and walk around the cemetery looking at tombstones and graves. I feel someone looking at me. I look towards my car and I see the man again. He's wearing a mask that looks like it has a hummingbird beak on. He ducks behind my car. I stare over there for several seconds, waiting for him to pop back up and he doesn't. I hear little girls whispering. My friend claims that someone hit his face. Everyone is on edge and we leave. Get to my car and look all around and under my car.
What's up?
Nothing. I need a cigarette and some Taco Bell. Let's go. We all pile into the car and my friend tells me, go. I sped off and asked my friend what he saw. He said that he saw the statue in the middle of the cemetery, which wasn't there before. We all go to Taco Bell and my friend, let's call him D, doesn't eat. When he usually shovels down food like a garbage disposal. D, are you okay?
Sure.
We all finish eating and he ends up leaving soon after. 2 hours later he calls me telling me he's going to commit self-end. I calm him down and tell him it'll all be okay. He ends up going to bed and I see him the next day and he's perfectly fine. Whatever, maybe he just had a panic attack last night, it happens. We tell each other we're not going back to the cemetery ever again. But also while trying to post this my internet just cut out. Might be a coincidence, but whatever. We went back to the cemetery. Don't worry, this is the last time we go. We didn't even go inside the cemetery, just stood on the sidewalk looking at it. We immediately hear little girls talking, in a fast and hushed whisper. D is with us, he turns around and tells me to unlock the car. I do and he sits in the back because he feels sick. We all stare at the cemetery. I feel like I'm being watched and I immediately know who it is. I've coined the term, the Hummingbird Man, for him. I look around but I don't see the Hummingbird Man. I hear a bird chirping which is odd because it's 2 a.m. and cold outside. It chirps a few times and suddenly we all silently turn around and go to the car. D is standing outside the car, obviously shaken up.
Don't go in there.
Why not, D?
Just wait a few minutes.
We all just assumed he farted or something, and he finally fesses up.
There was someone in the driver's seat. He was wearing a mask that had a beak. He just sat and stared forwards at you guys while you were at the cemetery. I looked and saw it and got out of the car.
We looked in the driver's seat and he wasn't there. We got in the car and my friend hung a rosary off my rear view window. I start telling them all about my experience with the Hummingbird Man, and they're all shocked. That morning D showed up at my house.
I couldn't sleep last night.
Why not, D?
Someone was walking around my house last night. The weird thing is, my mom was at work and my brother was at his girlfriend's house.
We ate breakfast and watched Portlandia and just hung out. That afternoon we all went to Noodles and Company for lunch and just acted like nothing happened last night. D didn't eat breakfast or lunch, he just stared at his food. D excused himself to go to his car while we were there and I followed him a few minutes later and he was just sobbing in his car.
What's wrong with me?
I don't know, D. You should get some help.
No, I'm okay.
That night we met with a medium. The first thing he says is that he can already tell that we have problems. He met with all of us for the first time that day and he knew nothing about us prior, yet was able to tell us things about ourselves that aren't common things. Like, this dude told me.
Your dad has passed? Right around Halloween a while ago?
My dad passed away in October about a year and a half ago. He tells D that he needs to see a doctor or therapist, and that there's an extremely negative spirit attached to him. D ignores him and sits on his phone. The medium grabs his hands and starts yelling at his face.
D, if you don't take me seriously then you're going to end up self-ending next Thursday.
Of course my phone goes off because I forgot to put it on silent. My significant other was calling me and I quickly just told her I'd call her back. After I got off the phone I realized how late it was and decided I needed to go home since I had to start work early. I shoot my friends a text that I have to leave and I drive home. I drive past the road that the neighborhood with the cemetery is on and right before I drive over that road I see the Hummingbird Man standing on a sidewalk outside of a gas station. I had no sleep that night, I kept hearing chirping. The next day I realized that I never actually got to hear what was wrong with me. I went over to my friends after work. D is inside the house, everyone meets me outside and we sit on the driveway. I already feel uneasy. Apparently they had to perform an exorcism on D last night. Honestly, not surprised. It didn't work, spirit is still attached to him. I'm still not surprised. I told them I saw the Hummingbird Man last night. My friends told me that the medium made no mention of me besides, he'll be okay. We hung out with D and he seemed very blank and vacant. We took him outside and started talking about Christianity, and D has a coughing fit and vomits. Immediately goes home angrily after that. I texted him that night and he said that he was okay, he just felt sick and wanted to go to bed. I found out the next day that he drove around all night and didn't sleep, and ended up driving over 200 miles that night. Weeks pass. D is still alive, thankfully, but he can't drive by a cemetery without grabbing at the handle of the car door and trying to jump out of the car. Every time we drive by a church or Christian store he feels sick. I haven't seen the Hummingbird Man since, but I still hear chirping sometimes while driving or while I'm in my room. My friend claims that once when we were hanging out she heard chirping right when I did too, even though we were in the car listening to music that for sure didn't have chirping noises in it. And then I saw him last night. I went to class last night and one of my friends who was not involved in any of this paranormal stuff met up with him about an hour from where any of this happened at some random tiny vape shop. I don't vape, he does. Don't worry, I'm not a pussy. We're outside and a homeless man is walking around the street screaming. He turns a corner and we can't see him but we can hear him.
Yo man, you look like a bird. Are you a fucking bird? Fucking beak and all. Fuck you. You fucking bird.
He shuts up and quickly walks across the street and is no longer yelling, just walking and refuses to turn around. I instantly knew it was probably the Hummingbird Man. My friend, we'll call him A, knows nothing about this. He jokes around and makes fun of the man and we start talking about what the Birdman probably looked like. I felt like I had a pit in my stomach the whole time. Eventually I had to go back to my car which was parked around the corner where the Hummingbird Man was. I walked to my car and had a firm grip on the self-defense weapon in my pocket. No one is there. I drove home and my heart was racing the whole time. 10 minutes away from home I'm driving past a forest preserve. Hummingbird Man is on the side of the road, which was so fucking bizarre because there was a bunch of cars around. Every other time I saw the Hummingbird Man, I was alone and no one was really around. I finally got a good look at his mask. It's like a wooden tribal mask with a long hummingbird beak like a plague doctor mask, and colorful blue and green feathers on the top and sides. His body is hunched and all black, and his fingers are long and sharp. I pull up to my house and get out of my car. Birds are chirping all around my house, but no birds are in sight. As I was typing this I was sitting in silence and I just heard chirping outside. But that's the end of my story. The help I need, I guess. Who the fuck is this Hummingbird Man?
From your story, I assumed a couple of things. That could be Hummingbird Man. You either stole or took something from the cemetery, and an angry spirit or guardian-like thing wants it back. My second guess is that someone is just spooking your shit around just for the lulz, and having fun. My third guess is that it's some psycho-mad ex-cult clan member or leader whose clan disbanded, and he goes on a rampage on everyone that goes to the cemetery at night. Pro tip: try to shoot the fucker, but never alone. Be with the medium and all of your friends that were in the cemetery. Another pro tip: try to trap the fucker somewhere, harder to do, but worth it if you can throw holy water or some exorcist shit on him.
I may sound like an asshole, but if you are stupid enough to go to repeatedly a haunted place, you pretty much deserve to get haunted. You and your friends are just not fit for survival.
Cemetery friend here. I've visited a reportedly haunted place in my country of origin about 45 times during a year. Still here though.
I did a bit of research. There are 51 marked graves. It was in use between 1894 and 1940 for girls who died during pregnancy and their babies that also died while they attended an all-girls private school nearby. The medium that we spoke with said that he suspects that other kids went in there with a Ouija board and upset the spirits that reside there.
I am interested. Because, if there was a summoning ritual on this cemetery, I personally think that your friend D has a pain redemption in him. It is known that pregnant women during birth of their child go hysterical, have manic depression, refuse to eat and have unclear visions and mind. I consider that it might be a spirit who just inflicted its pain into your friend, D. And it is not connected to gender, as far as I know. Any being experiences pain. And yeah, don't ever try exorcism. Visit a church. Literally.
Okay, I think I got a theory on that. If this is a bird-like or bird-loving entity, let it feel that you are not afraid. You know that stinky stick thing, which makes different aromas when you light some up in your room. Some smells might scare it away. And yeah, make it happen so a cat lives nearby. Around the house or yard, or something. Cats sense this shit.
I have a cat at home and I have a bunch of unburned incense in my room. Thank you. Hey guys, I just met up with one of my friends and talked to him about a lot of things. D is no longer followed by the negative spirit, however I found out something very interesting about his situation. Remember how I mentioned that people played with a Ouija board years ago in the cemetery? It was D and his friends. They released a bunch of negative spirits into the cemetery with this Ouija board, so of course when D started visiting it again, one of them attached to him. However, it's no longer attached to D. I don't know how this happened and no one else does either, but my friend claims that D one day started acting like his normal self again and said that the spirit left him. I saw the Hummingbird Man again while driving around with my friend. I asked if he saw him and he didn't. Only me and D have seen this man. Right after he and I were talking about D and the spirit. There was heat lightning outside, so I'm not surprised that I saw him. On my way home right when my friend got out of the car I heard chirping. I didn't see the Hummingbird Man after that. In class today I was talking to a classmate about the cemetery. She wants to come over tomorrow so we can go together in broad daylight. She thinks I need to go and basically tell the cemetery for the Hummingbird Man to leave me alone. I really don't want to go back. However, my friend that I was just with claims that I'm allowed over there. Because they went several times without me and I would never really see or hear much, and whenever they went without me the activity was always crazy whack and a lot worse. My friend thinks the hummingbird is protecting me from negative spirits. I mentioned earlier how my father passed away a year and a half ago. Is it possible my father is the Hummingbird Man or found a protective spirit to watch over me? As I'm typing this, it's pouring rain outside and thundering. Birds are chirping outside my window.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.